There are moments you feel like you're not alone, even if you're completely by yourself in the room. The air is still, but there's something watching you, waiting for the moment you close your eyes. Laila was the kind of girl who loved solitude, quiet, gentle. She enjoyed listening to the rain, sitting peacefully among her colors and drawings. But there was something strange about her, an obsession. She loved old dolls, porcelain faces that looked like children, but with eyes that had too much life. She would always say, "Dolls store feelings," maybe because no one listens to them. One day, she heard about a strange auction in another city, one of those markets that are only known by whispers. They said there was a collection of 19th century dolls, all made by a single insane artist who claimed he gave the dolls a soul. Stories like this excited her. They didn't scare her. She decided to go. The place was an old house, half ruined. Few people were there, and the atmosphere was strange, as if every breath faded before reaching the air. But among all those dolls, Laila's eyes fell on one different, a slightly large doll, with real hair, smooth features, but its eyes, something in them, sad, as if it saw too much. The man running the auction said, "This is Elisa, from the works of artist Laila Gray. But a tip, don't keep her in your house for more than 2 days." Laila laughed and said, "I'm not afraid of superstitions." She bought it for $50, a great deal, or so she thought. Back at home, she placed Elisa on the shelf among the other dolls she considered her little family. Everything was normal for the first 2 hours. At midnight, as she slept, she heard something faint, a soft knock, then a small movement, then a whisper, "Laila." She jumped up, heart pounding. No one! Streetlight shone through the window, casting the doll's shadow on the wall. But strangely, the shadow was standing, not sitting like the doll. She went back to bed, but her eyes stayed open. Every now and then, she glanced at the doll to make sure it hadn't moved. But just before dozing off, a soft voice came from the corner. "Are you scared of me?" She jumped from the bed, turned on the light. Nothing, except a small piece of paper under the doll, written in childish handwriting. "Don't be afraid. Soon we'll be like each other." She tried to convince herself it was a prank by a friend, or maybe she had dreamed it. The next day, she returned from university, opened the door. The house was silent, but as soon as she stepped in, she felt something was wrong. All the dolls she had carefully arranged were gone. Only Elisa remained on the table, holding Laila's paintbrush, and the brush was painted in a dark red color. Laila whispered, "Someone must be messing with me." She grabbed the doll to throw it, but as soon as she touched it, she felt a strange warmth, like human skin. She quickly put it back, ran to the door, opened it, but the air outside turned cold, thick. As soon as her foot touched the floor outside, the door slammed shut. The house went dark. The lights went out. Something started whispering from all corners, children's laughter echoing, a laugh, 2 laughs. Then one voice said, "I'm going to play with you."
The game has begun. She ran toward her room, but the path seemed longer. The walls moved, shifted as if they were breathing. Finally, she reached the room, but it wasn't the same as she left it. All the dolls stood in a circle with Elisa in the middle, their faces all turned to her, eyes glowing faintly. Laila screamed, her voice piercing the silence, but nothing responded. Every second, she felt the floor tremble under her, as if a pulse ran beneath the house. She tried to leave, but the floor was sticky, like it was swallowing her. She reached for the table, trying to hold something. A faint light fell from the window, hitting Elisa's face, and it smiled. A small smile, but filled with sadness. Suddenly, a deep, harsh voice came from above, from the ceiling. "Finally, we found her, the new doll." The lights went out completely. Everything became darkness. The darkness was heavy, like smoke choking the air. Laila felt the world spinning around her, sounds fading, leaving only her heartbeat. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. She reached out, but felt nothing, not even herself. When she opened her eyes, she was in a strange place. A wide room, everything pale white, ceiling impossibly high. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't move. She looked down. Breathing was difficult. Her body was rigid, cold. Her hands were wooden, face fixed, unable to move. What's happening?" A calm, strange male voice answered from behind. "Nothing is happening. You just transformed." She turned and saw a man in a black suit, face covered with a featureless mask. His eyes were dark voids, like bottomless pits. He stepped closer, slowly, and said, "Every person who buys a doll from this house becomes part of it. Your soul was ready, Laila. You were searching for company, weren't you? Now you have a full family." She stepped back, scared, trying to move, but the floor seemed to glue her in place. Her eyes scanned the room, rows and rows of dolls, hundreds of them, silent, each with eyes following her. And among them, cracked human-like faces, like a mixture of human and doll. "All of them were like me?" The man smiled beneath the mask and said, "Each one had a reason. One betrayed, one lied, one wished to be someone else. And you wished people would never leave, right? So now they never will." A tear fell from her eye, but it wasn't real, like a drop of paint sliding from porcelain. She tried to scream, but only heard the clicking, the sound of a doll's jaw opening and closing slowly. Time passed. She didn't know if it was hours or days, but one thing changed. She started hearing whispers among the dolls, soft voices speaking of the past, their families, lives that no longer had meaning. One whispered, "I was a little girl. My dad brought me to Uncle Luther. He said he would fix me."
Another whispered, "I was a mother. I used to scream at my daughter. Maybe that's why God punished me." Laila stayed silent until she heard a new whisper close to her ear. "We mustn't stay here." She turned. It was Elisa, the same old doll, but now her face seemed alive. She said, "Not every soul ends here. There is one door, only one opens, but you must remember who you were." Laila tried to respond, but her voice was distorted. Elisa put a finger to her lips and said, "Shh, listen. When he comes, don't be afraid. He's not the master of this place. He's one of us." And she slipped away into the shadows. After a while, the door opened. The masked man entered, holding a small box. He stood before her and said, "It's time for you to sleep." He extended his hand, opened the box, and pulled out a strange golden key, shaped like a small heart. But before he could approach, the floor trembled.
Dolls around them began whispering in unison, "Enough! Enough! Enough!" The man shouted, "Silence! Everyone, silence!" But Laila was no longer afraid. She remembered her family, her friends, her laughter while painting. She remembered how she always said, "Dolls preserve feelings." Maybe it truly preserved her feelings. She stood up and whispered, "You were an artist, weren't you?" He froze. "How did you know?" "Because every piece in this house loves beauty, but you forgot. Maybe that's why I'm here to remind you." For the first time, the mask moved slightly. A single tear fell from beneath it. His voice changed, filled with regret. "I wanted to create eternal beauty, but I forgot that beauty without a soul is death." He raised the key and placed it in her hand. "Go, if you can." As she touched it, everything around her began to crumble, walls collapsing, dolls laughing and crying at the same time, light filling the room. The last thing she saw before closing her eyes was Elisa, smiling, saying, "I told you, not every soul ends here." Morning. The police found an abandoned house on the edge of the city. Inside, no one, just hundreds of broken dolls and the smell of old wax filling the space. In the center, a large painting on the wall. A smiling girl, signed Laila Gray. Below, in golden letters, "Every soul, even if petrified, carries a light waiting for someone to see it." Ultimate cliffhanger or closure? The dollhouse wasn't a curse. It was a reflection of the artist who lost his soul between beauty and death. And Laila? She didn't die. She became the new artist, the doll who saved.